Hello, and thanks for tuning in to our weekly blockchain gaming news roundup. It is Friday, 26th of July. I'm your host, Jenny Jordan, and with me is co-host John Jordan. Hi, John. No
Hello.
cap today?
Say again? No cap today?
No cap today?
Doesn't feel like a cap day today for some reason. I don't know. I'll let my
I'm wearing,
natural hair bouffant out.
in lack of a SoulKeep one, I'm wearing a Splinterlands one as a sort of substitute, but I'm actually wearing it because we've been playing SoulKeep a bit over the last couple of weeks. It's our game of the week. It's actually closely integrated with Splinterlands. First of all, it's available through the Splinterlands platform, so you do need an account there to play. It's got the same currency and so on. But anyway, that's our game of the week, so go check that out. Let's dive into our headlines this week. It started off with Animoca and the Ton Foundation, announcing a fairly substantial strategic kind of initiative, 20 million, where it's integrating the Mocha Foundation and Mocha ID system with the Ton blockchain, Ton Foundation. We have the Coinbase's base blockchain is running their on-chain summer event. The second summer they're running it. It started off last year, and with that they have this on-chain arcade has gone live, which is a partnership with Atari to release like HTML5 versions of retro games. Is this correct? Which will be minted as NFTs on the base blockchain. Correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah. Good. Studio 369's Metalcore has announced a kind of extension game of the Metalcore IP called Metalcore Arena, which is compared to Metalcore, this is an idle sort of mech battler, which allows players to group together and sort of build teams to fight and battle each other. And on the note of Metalcore, they've also had their 5th NFT sale. It's just Yes, correct me, John. Where did Metalcore?
No, I think it's the second, isn't it?
The second one since the first one, initial one in 2022.
Yeah, they did
Sorry,
one.
I got this wrong. I'm mixing this up with a different one.
They did one ages ago, like back when everyone was doing NFT mints. I think 2022, and those were their like they were like humanoid soldier characters. And they did say at the time they were going to do further mints for their sort of vehicles, because obviously the point of the game is you have these big mechs and flight and tanks and hovercraft and all this sort of stuff. And that's what they did this week. But it was only 5. There was 5 classes of sort of vehicle. I'm not quite sure how many they had, actually. I was a bit late to it, so by the time I'd looked at it, they'd sold out 4 of the 5. So they had about 100 left of the very entry-level hover tank things. Price from about $60 to about $500, although that's in their own token, which has been quite volatile on the downward sense. So yeah, I mean, they seem to be. I've not played it recently, but they seem to be doing these sort of tests, and they've opened up the tests and seem to be getting some reasonable numbers on it. You never quite 100% believe the numbers people give out about their tests, but yeah.
But so Blocklords is a game with the PC-based medieval grand strategy from MetaKing Studios. We used to talk about it quite a lot as around the time it sort of kicked off season 1 at the start of the year, just sort of 2nd of January or something like that, when the Bear Slay season. We played it quite a lot, and then we haven't been talking about it so much. But obviously a couple of weeks ago, they launched another sort of extension integrated kind of game, which is browser-based. They launched it on the base blockchain, as opposed to Blocklords on Polygon, immutable / building its own Lord's chain.
Lord's
Not
chain.
entirely sure. Anyway, so you've been playing that quite a bit this week and have seen quite an explosive growth in wallets, presumably quite a high rate of bots there, sort of linking back to our previous discussions around bots in particularly in games that are currently running sort of airdrop campaigns. But we'll dive in a little bit more into that later. We'll just run through the headlines first. Boomland is another game which has had the airdrop campaign and finished their season 1 now, and in conjunction with that they've also revealed sort of new rewards system, which I think is better if you go into, because you know a lot more about this. So can you just talk us through?
Okay.
Yeah.
So Boomland is the sort of company. Hunters on Chain is the main game. They have these other games also using the same token. So they have the BGEM token, which is a utility token, which you earn in the game for doing stuff. And then you have the Boom token, which is more like a sort of governance token, which is actually used in the game for leveling up characters. And that's what the airdrop's been about, and the Boom token. So they've done the first season. They've done pretty well, I think. I think they've had about sort of 50, 60,000 wallets playing. It's a game that's been it's a Web 3 version of a Web 2 game, so the actual core gameplay is pretty good. And they've added the NFT stuff, and they had it on Polygon like last year, and now it's on Immutable. So it's pretty sort of robust in terms of all the features and modes and stuff. The big problem they have is the Boom token isn't actually live on Immutable. So the Boom token is actually live on Polygon, but restricted. And they're going to launch it on Immutable EVM, ZK EVM later in the year. But they've run this big campaign about they're giving away 250 million Boom, but the Boom token's not live. So what can they do? You can't not give people the rewards that you promised them. So it's quite a clever idea. They are gonna. So the season's ended. We haven't got the allocation yet, so we don't know who's got what. But they're going to be giving away Boom tokens basically as NFTs. So you'll basically get like maybe a 1,000 Boom token NFT. I think the biggest one is 100,000 Boom token NFT. And you can, because it's an NFT, you can obviously sell that on a marketplace. Obviously, selling NFTs is different to selling tokens because they're non-fungible rather than fungible. So people will be able to work out a price for what Boom is, because obviously the 1,000 will be worth this, and 100,000 probably be worth 100 times more. But you won't be able to burn those NFTs for the actual tokens until the token goes live later in the year. So an added complication they put in is you either get the NFT is either called a month 0 or a month 1. The month 0 ones can be sold straight away when the token goes live. The month 1 ones you have to wait a month. So there's sort of like a time based thing on it, like an option almost. So presumably the month 1 ones will be cheaper. But if you're really bullish on Boom, you're like, well, I don't care. I think the price is going to go up. I'm buying it now cheaper because I have to wait a month, but I think it's going to go up. And then the really clever thing is, even though the token's not live, you can take your NFT now before the token's live and burn it and get an off-chain version of Boom, which you use in the game to level up your characters. So your character obviously starts off level 1 or whatever it is, and then you need Boom to level them up to. You need shards and Boom actually, two different resources. And then you level them up and they obviously get more powerful and they get you more rewards. And obviously season 2 will start. So the really hardcore people will want to really level up their characters so they're more powerful so they can win more stuff. So there's quite a lot of moving parts, quite a lot of sort of game theory in there. Hard to judge exactly how it's going to work out. I think probably the price of Boom, because they're NFTs, not tokens, you have to keep reducing the price if you want to sell. So the price actually of the Boom NFTs may actually go quite low in the short term because people just want to get rid of it and they have to price it down to sell it, because you're not selling it into, if it's a token you just sell it into the MMA or the bid pool sort of thing. You can't do that with NFTs, so it'll be interesting to see, but it's a very clever way of sort of stopping people just dumping the token, which is something we've spoken about quite a lot, how when you do a token airdrop, you don't really want everyone just to sell the token, because then what's the point in giving it away? You want people to really be committed to it. And we've started to see a few, the Mochaverse one had a staking system, and the one that's worked really well has been Pirate Nation, where a lot of people have staked the token, and then that's brought more people into the game because they sort of get a feeling that the community is really quite committed to this game, or the ecosystem, and they're a well-known game developer. They've raised a lot of money and stuff, so yeah, they're not some sort of fly-by-night team that's going to rug you sort of thing. So we're starting to see, it is interesting, the different sort of trends that are going along around these sort of token airdrops and how you actually do build community with them rather than just giving away free money that gets dumped.
Yeah. Well, on the note of tokens, we can talk about the Blocklords the ecosystem, Blocklords Dynasty as well, because they did announce the token earlier in the year and started off the airdrop campaign, then 300,000 Lords token, and now it's gone live this week. They've gone live on exchanges, as you say. So you've been able to sort of use it within the game to gain influence, which is like a resource you can use to buy packs and whatever, or you can, similarly to what you just mentioned with Pirate and Boom, you can stake it as well, because it's also like a governance token. So it's sort of a way of investing, obviously, in the project long term, but also gaining sort of involvement in the development of the game and the Blocklords ecosystem. But let's talk about Blocklords Dynasty a little bit that you've been playing.
I was late to it. So it actually launched on the 4th of July. It is, as you said, it is a browser-based sort of companion game on the base blockchain, and basically it uses the NFT characters that have been out for years. Originally launched on Immutable X, still on Immutable X, then launched on Polygon. You could bring them into the game, the PC game, and they sort of acted as sort of boosts to what was going on in the game. Didn't have a vast amount of functionality. But now the game Dynasties is basically all about these characters that you get, that you have. And they have, this time you use them in battles. So there's two basic sort of modes. There's one called a duel. So you select one of your characters. It has health and various things. You can, over time, you can get some sort of objects in the game, like a shield or an axe or something that you can equip them with. It's used up, consumable items. And then it just basically auto plays the duel, and it sort of, you either win or you lose. And if you win this influence. No, it's called renown, like an off-chain currency, just called renown. And your character loses some health. They have a nice thing called they have a permadeath sort of solution. So if you lose all your health, that NFT becomes a fallen hero. So you can't use it anymore. It does still. It looks like I haven't really checked it out yet. The game does look to see how many fallen heroes you've got, and so there is a reward for having fallen heroes. So it's not just worth it. But basically, these NFTs are being consumed. The health slowly rebuilds over time, but there is a sort of risk reward that you want to be using them all the time. But if you come across a really powerful character, you don't know obviously who you're playing against, you may come across a character who has the ability to knock 500 health off your character, and your character might only have health of 400. I mean, that's what happened to me. And so you go into battle and suddenly your character's dead. So there is that sort of risk reward. There's also these other things called missions, and in those you select up to 3 of your characters. They're longer periods of time and they're harder. So you have to go in and you get one very weak character for free if you play the game. If you want to play the game properly, you have to go in and probably spend hundreds of dollars buying better characters. And you're basically, in all these games, you're getting this renown. With renown, you level up your house. So the house is the sort of the house of Jordan, I suppose in this case, or whatever. And you level that up, and you can you can get sort of permanent boosts for that as well. It does feed back into the PC game as well. I've not investigated too much of that, but there is an interaction between the two. And another thing the final thing you do with this renown is you can buy chests, and chests are gacha boxes. So they give you a drop. They may give you some NFT character if you're lucky. They may give you, actually I'm not sure about that, I made that up. They definitely do give you items, and they do give you these things called orbs. Very low percentage drop on the orbs, but the orbs are NFTs, and at a certain point in time you'll be able to burn those orbs to get the Lord token. As you say, the Lord token actually went live ages ago in the game as an off-chain token that you could use. It's gone live this week as an on-chain token you can sell. The price has gone down, I think, since it went live, tends to happen. I think the airdrops weren't massively generous. You had to work quite hard. I've got about $200 worth. The encouragement, as ever, is to stake it. So I've staked all mine for a year, and that earns me influence in the game. And you use that to buy sort of packs. So that's influence is used in the PC game. Renown is used in the Dynasty browser game. And the Dynasty browser game actually has some long-term elements as well that you'll be able to. I think if you have certain NFTs, high-end NFTs. They're called unique NFTs. You'll be able to use those to create dynasties, so you can get married and have children. I mean, I think that's not for most players. That's for the very high-level players. It's called Blocklords because you have the idea of lords. So you have these people who can sort of control areas and tax the farms in that area and actually have armies. And there is a whole very long-term sort of a high-end game loop where you're having people who may own very expensive, tens of thousands or tens of thousands of dollar NFTs, and they're gaining in-game resources from taxing and all this sort of stuff. So that's the sort of the long-term plan. And as you said, we played it quite a lot and got quite excited about it, and then we sort of got a bit cold feet on it because it's a PC game and you have to run it all the time and it's quite hard.
I lost every single time for like a month and just didn't have anything left really.
Yeah, they've had some game balancing issues where when your farm gets attacked, they seem to have dialed up the damage too much. So you were basically getting all your units killed by these attacks, and then it was really hard. You were starting from scratch all the time. It was very disheartening. It looks like they've dialed that down a little bit. So that's good. So we'll sort of see. So I'm a bit more positive. I'm as ever. I'm quite enthusiastic about dynasties at the moment. Probably in a week's time, maybe I will have got bored a bit. But I think they've sort of taken the right approach. That they've been. I think it's better to be over slow and over cautious with these sort of NFTs and assets and stuff than try and build up this big sort of, whoa, aren't we great? And we're on to the latest hot thing and we're giving away all this stuff. And then, a month later, everyone's moved on to the next sort of fast, shiny thing. So I think that's the way, of building it. They are a proper team with decent funding. They've made games before. I think with a lot of these things, you could always go a little bit faster, but you always want to go probably slower rather than faster is the general thing. So I think, it is interesting. These companion games do give you this different pacing. So the PC game is slow. Maybe it's designed to be slow. You could just play the Dynasty game. I mean, you wouldn't get the full force of the game. But it's interesting. You spoke about Metalcore doing a idle sort of resource game as well. I mean, sounds like a similar sort of thing. You would own the NFTs and use those in a sort of mission-based game. You're not really gameplay in there, but you're doing resources, and you've seen other games doing sort of similar things. So maybe not quite a trend yet, but it sort of makes sense. I think that you have different ways of interacting with the game.
Well, talking of which, actually, so we had this announcement as well this week from Chain Monsters that that's a game, it's a forthcoming game, and they're launching a Tap Monsters sort of companion game on Ton, which is sort of going down a very different route, obviously, to sort of Meta King and Studio 369, and those kind of teams building deep blockchain economies and sort of adding depth really to the game rather than taking away depth by launching.
Well, I think
you know what I mean, but with Tap Monsters in there, you will be able to earn the token that then sort of feeds into the bigger MMORPG, the Chain Monsters. So they're doing sort of a similar sort of thinking, but in just a very different kind of approach, I suppose.
I mean, I think Telegram is really useful for marketing and user acquisition if you can direct those people somewhere else. I think the problem with people is they're thinking, just keep them within Telegram and we can monetize and hold them within it. I think that's probably not going to work out. I think that's what we've seen from hyper casual games more generally. It's very hard to build a platform even around that. I think even with blockchain. But if you have another game that you wrote about this week. I can't remember what it's called. It's not Crazy Defense Heroes, is it? But it's like the
Animoca.
Animoca's. It's Animoca's seventh game using. What's it called?
Crazy Rush Heroes.
Crazy Rush Heroes. So it's basically the 7th game using the tower, or it will use the tower token that's been live for goodness knows how long. And that was from their original tower defense games. Crazy Defense Heroes was one of those games. And they've done various different versions of those games. And, you can imagine it's a very sort of simple, just touch, sort of mini sort of action game, and sort of endless sort of game. Using the characters from the tower defense games, and if they use that and get users and then can pile them back through to the mobile game where they can monetize them, or these other sort of another more sort of heavy core sort of blockchain native game, that could be quite useful. I think. So I think Telegram has its uses. I think it is the current shiny thing, and I'm a little bit or quite a lot skeptical about it. I mean, I was playing. Everyone's going about Catazine. I mean, I think Catazine is an awful game. Maybe just for some reason Wise went the wrong way, but I just think it's a really quite manipulative sort of game, and I just don't think that's going to sort of scale out. People are playing it at the moment to get in the hope of getting a token, and that's sort of the opposite of what we've been talking about. The slow sort of approach of something like a Blocklords with its token, or even Boomland with its token. The Telegram stuff is just the not coin worked really well, and it just became a big currency. It's almost like a meme coin, and now lots of people are just trying to, copy paste that scenario, which I just, I think probably Catazine is actually it is a deeper game than a lot of the Telegram ones, but it's just, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, let's move on. We've also seen NFL Rivals hit $7 million in trading volume, NFT trading volume this month, which was slightly slower than the last sort of million they made when they went from 5 to 6 million, which they did within a month, the month of May, I guess. And this going from 6 to 7 million then has taken more than a month. So, but should say that was a record, wasn't it? Getting from 5 to 6 million.
I think.
And so
May was definitely been the peak month. It's been down a little bit since then. Obviously, the season doesn't start again until September, so you don't expect it to be that busy. I think also in May was when they put live the quick swaps or whatever they call it, so that maybe gave it a little boost. The other interesting thing, this was the first month, June was the first month where more people selling NFTs than buying them. That could be a good thing because it means people are getting to understand they can sell their NFTs. I mean, NFL Rivals doesn't use the term NFTs at all, so you're just sort of selling your cards in there. So I think a lot of this blockchain economy, player-owned economy type stuff is education is the sort of the key thing, and people have to understand these are things that you can sort of sell or swap, or and you've never done that in games before, or not really within games. So it's quite a new thing to do in games that no one's ever learned before. Obviously keep an eye on that game. I just as I say, I think it's a fascinating game, not because I play it particularly a lot or I like American football. I don't, but it's a blockchain game that doesn't talk about blockchain at all. So you sort of do get an idea of people who are just playing gamers who are just playing a game, and suddenly you're given these assets that they can trade with. Are they understanding that? Do they like it? Do they not like it? So it's a sort of little, almost like a test case of a blockchain game being played by an audience who doesn't care about blockchain games and has very little speculative sort of dynamic in there. Whereas crypto games or games that talk about were a blockchain game, they tend to attract crypto people who just want to make loads of money, and that's not what it is. When NFL Rivals, you probably could make money, but it's not really set up in that way.
And where are they in terms of downloads?
I don't know. I've not heard. 5 million was the last I heard. I mean, it's not. If you look at the people who are owning NFTs, it's a fairly small percentage. I think it's like the highest it's been is sort of 20,000. I think it's active on a monthly basis, sort of about 10,000 people doing these NFTs. So it's not it's a very sort of small percentage. In general, with free to play mobile games, it's only a few percent will be spending real money in-app purchases, and really to do the NFTs in NFL Rivals you need to be spending money. So it's going to be a smaller set of people who are spending money really. So. But again, that's something we sort of want to keep an eye on over time. Does that grow? Does it? Maybe they get 10 million downloads and it's still 10,000 people a month doing the blockchain stuff. That would clearly be bad. maybe over time you get to 10 million downloads and suddenly the people doing the NFT stuff, because people are getting into it and telling their friends, maybe it's 50,000, maybe sort of, so how that percentage breakdown changes over time is sort of the interesting bit.
Illuvium has launched their 3 games, Arena, Zero, Overworld, available Epic Games. It's been quite a buzzy game for a few years, quite anticipated on the immutable ZK blockchain. And this week has also seen Champions Tactics NFTs being revealed, the tactical RPG from Ubisoft. So 2 quite sort of, what would you say, anticipated projects, I suppose, that have been.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think with Illuvium, it's just gone on forever without anything really happening. I would be surprised if if anything happens. I don't want to be too skeptical about it, but I just kind of think that game's sort of vibe has come and gone. And Champions Ascension is obviously interesting because it's from Ubisoft, but again, I wouldn't say it's. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be super, super hardcore, but I would imagine it'd be too complicated for me to play, to be frank, brutally honest. I've had my 10 characters unlocked, and there's just like the stats on them are unbelievable. So I just won't be a good player of that game. But again, it's going back to this sort of slow. Ubisoft have been very slow on that game. I think it will be, if you look at the sort of quality of the art, and it will be it will attract a certain audience. I don't think it will scale to millions of players. But it's a sort of big thing for Ubisoft to put out a proper blockchain game and start to get a feel for what the audience sort of wants. And again, that's not a game where you play to make tons of money. That's a game where if you're a really great player of that game, you'll sort of get some rewards, I expect. But I think Illuvium is the exact opposite of a bunch of people who raised tons and tons of money but didn't have any game making experience, decided to make 3 games at the same time. None of them, I don't think, are very very compelling. I think probably in a year's time we will have forgotten about it.
Wait and see.
Wait and see.
Or not. Right, okay. Well, on that note, we're going to finish off. So thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you all next week. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.